I just finished reading 2 romance books. I enjoyed them both a lot, but in very different ways. You would think that these 2 books do not have anything in common other than the fact that they are romance novels, but I found weird parallels to both stories. But we have a dark romance and then just more of a lighthearted, sweet romance. I wanted to talk about both of them because I read them at the same time, which I don't know why I did that. I'm trying this whole poly reading thing for the month of June. It's actually a lot harder than I imagined, but I really liked both of these. Let's start with a quick synopsis and my spoiler-free ratings, and then we'll jump into more material that contains spoilers because it's impossible to talk about all these books and do a full, well-rounded review without mentioning any spoilers. So the first one I finished for the month of June was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is actually not her newest romance novel. Her newest one is Funny Story, which is amazing, by the way. I really enjoyed it. Happy Place by Emily Henry, for me, it wasn't my favorite. I highly enjoyed it. I think it's such a cute little romance, but this one is a lot sadder than a lot of her other books. So this kind of falls on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to book recommendations for the genre of romance and for Emily Henry. I don't automatically think of this one. I think that for the correct audience, it's great. I am a little confused because I see a ton of booktubers, bookstagrammers, book talkers. They are rereading this and they're annotating it, and yeah, I think that's great, but I don't necessarily know why. I mean, Emily Henry does have a habit of writing more profound romance novels. It's more than just a meet cute, oh haha, cutesy, nice romance. There's a lot of feeling and emotion, and just her character development is really good. There's just so much more to her novels than just a cute story. Happy Place follows our 2 main characters, Wynne and Harriet. They've been together and they've been a couple for a very long time, ever since college. They appear to be the perfect couple. They were engaged for a time, but something happens that causes them to break off their engagement. They are no longer together, but they have a very close circle of friends that they vacation with every once in a while, and they have yet to tell their friends that they have broken up. They are getting ready to go on this vacation with their close circle of friends. They go to this little cottage that their friend Sabrina owns, but they're getting together for the last time because Sabrina's family is going to be selling this property. And so this is their last opportunity to get together in this place that is just so magical. Everyone has a wonderful time. Now, Wynne and Harriet, there's more to the story than this, but they don't want to tell their friends that they have actually broken up. You'll get more into the details of that in the story, but there's a variety of reasons why they do not disclose the fact that they have ended their relationship. So they are forced to continue pretending that they are together. They are pretending that they are engaged. They're sharing a room together. So of course you have that trope of forced proximity. And I guess by default, you also have that trope of fake dating because they're not really together anymore, but they just haven't told anyone that. The really sad thing about this novel is that it's very clear that these 2 characters want to be together, but because of what happened, that is just not possible for them at this point in time. The story flip-flops between present day and what happened in the past, what led up to their eventual breakup, and how they're navigating their new lives without each other. So it's really sad. Emily Henry has an incredible way of writing characters and writing emotions, and there are so many moments in this book, and actually in all of her books, where I could just relate to the situation. I could relate to the character. I've usually lived some form of whatever it is she's describing in some way or another. So I just think the relatability of her books is what makes her books and her characters just so real. So I really enjoyed this, but it wasn't my favorite. So I gave Happy Place a solid 3.75 stars. Even though I enjoyed it, it wasn't quite a 4-star read. I think 3.75 is pretty fair. It's a lot more sad than what I expected, and maybe that just kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't anticipating that. I didn't prepare for that emotionally. I may have not been ready for this one. So honestly, it could have just been the right book at the wrong time, if that's even a thing. I did enjoy it. I would recommend it, but certainly not over Funny Story or People We Meet on Vacation. Those are my 2 favorite Emily Henry books. I even really liked Book Lovers right after that. And then I would probably say Happy Place. And then at the bottom of the list, so sorry, but that's gonna be Beach Read. I know that's everyone's favorite. For me, Beach Read was just not as memorable as her other books. It wasn't bad. I rated Beach Read a 4-star read. I thought it was great, but I don't think about that one as much. I think about People We Meet on Vacation and Funny Story a lot. There's your quick synopsis. Do I recommend it? Yeah, for me it's a 3.75 stars. I liked it. Even though this is more on the light-hearted scale than this one, this still contains some very sad elements to the story, so just be prepared for that, but I really did enjoy it. Okay, now let's talk about Leather and Lark. This one came out recently, actually earlier this month. I bought this on release date, so that was probably 2.5 weeks ago now. This is, of course, part of the Ruinous Love trilogy. So Butcher and Blackbird is first, and then here comes Leather and Lark. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I don't know if I liked it as much as this one. I felt like I was just so in awe with this one, and probably a lot of that is just the shock factor of, oh my gosh, what am I reading and what in the world did this woman just write? This one, I feel like I was more acclimated to her writing style. I was better prepared. Nothing really surprised me except, holy crap. The intimate scenes, the love scenes are so much grosser than this one. I thought that they had explicit scenes in this one that were pretty nasty. This is disgusting, disgusting, but I still liked it. It didn't ruin the story for me, but I could have gone without several of the intimate scenes in here. The spice scenes, the smut scenes, whatever you want to refer to them as. They are seriously gross. And I certainly could have done without that very final bonus chapter in the end. I don't care who you are. I encourage you to skip that one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know anyone that would enjoy that. That was super gross. Leather and Lark is, of course, so Leather is referring to Lachlan Kane, who is Rowan's brother. And then Lark, of course, is Sloane's really good best friend. So these two, I will say, as gross as some of these scenes are, this is a really cute love story. I don't know how a book can do that, how a book can simultaneously be a very, very cute, very sweet romance while also being raunchy and disgusting, but this book accomplished that. So Lachlan and Lark, they kind of have an unfortunate first meeting. So the way that they meet is not very cute. They have a pretty rough start. Lachlan is a contract killer, and then Lark is kind of a musician. They are forced to actually get married, but they actually allegedly hate each other because of the way that they met, and they don't appear to get along, but there is definite chemistry. That is undeniable. They have a ton of chemistry, even with the whole I hate you kind of thing going on. So Lachlan is a contract killer who wants out. Lark is a musician, and they find a deal that's going to benefit them both if they were to get married. If they were to get married, Lark is able to protect the people that she loves, and then Lachlan, on the other hand, is able to potentially get out of this underworld that he's stuck in. He works for a pretty hardcore boss who is not easily going to let him out of his contract. So the marriage is going to benefit both of them. Neither of them are happy about it, or seemingly so. And then the story just kind of takes off from there. But I liked it well enough. I think this is a solid 4-star rating. I think the thing that brings it down for me is I do feel like there were a couple gaps in the story, in that there were things that I wanted more of that Brynne Weaver just kind of skipped by, and maybe that was just me, but I really feel like also the conclusion was sped through so fast. Like, we may have pages and pages and pages of smut, yet the conclusion was done in like a page and a half. I'm like, oh, that's it? Okay. So here we have a 4-star read for me. The first one I rated 5 stars. I couldn't help myself. I just loved it. I tore through this one. It wasn't quite the same experience with Leather and Lark, but I did enjoy it. And then we have Happy Place that I read at the same time as this one, which rounded out to a 3.75 stars. So let's get into some spoilers. So if you have not read these books and you would like to experience them without any spoilers, which I think you deserve, go ahead and pause me here, skip to another video, because it's impossible to give a full, well-rounded review without discussing any spoilers. I'm not gonna go crazy with it, but there are just a couple things that I wanted to talk about. So with Happy Place, I really did. I thought the characters were so good and they were so sweet. I don't really have a lot of complaints about this book, but I will be honest, I didn't really find Wynne to be all that charming. Like his previous self, when they first got together, when Harriet and Wynne first got together, yeah, I could see the charm, I could see the charisma there, but his current state, I don't know, he just seems kind of grumpy and dismissive and aloof, and you know, that's to be expected because they've broken up, but I don't know, I didn't love his character as much as I loved Miles from Funny Story, or Alex from People We Meet on Vacation. So it wasn't a huge deal, but I don't know, I didn't connect with him on that level. He certainly isn't somebody that I would pine after or I would like to call my book boyfriend. There's also some mentions of just silly things that they're doing. There's some weed gummies involved and that kind of stuff I don't really relate with. It didn't bother me that I was reading about it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if I were to get together with a group of my friends at this cottage, I wouldn't be dabbling in that kind of stuff, but to each their own. I think the biggest thing that bothered me with this one is I just wish that Wynne and Harriet would have talked it out like a lot sooner. I feel like the whole conflict could have been resolved a lot earlier and a lot more easily, but they just made it really hard on each other, which Emily Henry does a good job of explaining why it is that they do that and why they're reluctant to talk about it and they're protecting their feelings and all this and that. And I get that, but I don't know. It's this whole like miscommunication trope that I'm not totally on board with. I don't know. I feel like there was such an easier way to go about their situation than just all these assumptions that they're making about the scenario that they're stuck in. While I like this, I just really wasn't obsessed with the characters. I wasn't obsessed with the plot. It has a very nice feel to it though. If you're going on vacation and you're doing some shopping around, there's a mention of a bookshop here that they're visiting, and I thought, oh, that sounds so nice. I want to experience that. I forget what the bookshop is called. And there are things that Sabrina, one of the friend characters in here, does for all of her friends, and she means well. Sometimes it doesn't turn out exactly the right way that she's intending, but it's just a really fun story. But honestly, I probably won't think about this one very much, if at all, but I think of other Emily Henry books a lot more. Okay, couple parallels that I want to point out here, which was super weird for me, but we have characters in both of these books that really struggle with claustrophobia, and so I thought that was kind of weird, just kind of a happy coincidence in the fact that I was reading two vastly different books, but both containing kind of similar subjects. And then there's also a scene in both of these books where the characters are playing darts. As you can imagine, that scenario for each of these books is very different. So yeah, you get more of like the standard, obviously this is the kind of darts that you play in a bar. These people are playing darts and throwing the darts at a person. So that was fun. So kind of a weird parallel, but other than that, they were pretty different. Yes, they're both romance books, but I don't know, funny to find some similarities. So Leather and Lark. I mentioned before that I felt like there were some holes in the story, and I think that's just me personally. Like the whole fact that Lark is a musician was just kind of glazed over. There's not much content on her actual work as a musician. There's like one scene where she has a performance where she performs and Lachlan is present, he's there. But other than that, it's really just kind of a thing that she is, but it's hardly ever mentioned, if at all. There's also a moment when Lachlan sends Lark to a sleep clinic, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I'd love to see her on her own and like overcome this insomnia situation that she's got going on. But that whole part is just breezed right over. Lachlan drops her off. He picks her up later that night, steals her away to give her surprise, and then drops her back off, and then all of a sudden it's a week later. I'm like, oh, well, I would have liked to have known what kind of things she was doing at the sleep clinic. I don't know. Is that boring of me? I have no idea, but it's like she got dropped off, she got picked up, and that was the end of it. I also have to mention the climax. The whole book is leading up to the fact that this killer is actually after Lark and Lachlan because he is seeking revenge for something that Rowan and Sloane did to his family. And so we know that the story is leading up to this point, and it's over in like a page and a half. It was so fast. Like before I even had a moment to adjust to the fact that, oh, this is it. This is the climax. It was over. Yet we have pages and pages and pages of smut. And it's like, okay, let's find a little better balance here. That's why I couldn't give this one a 5 stars. And with this climax and the conclusion, I still don't really know what happened because it's told from Lark's perspective, but she's locked in this Dutch oven. She's not the one fighting this guy who has captured her and is trying to cause harm to her and Lachlan. So I don't know. I felt like that was kind of not necessarily a mistake, but why was it told from her perspective? I feel like we could have shown little bits and pieces from her perspective, but she's locked in the Dutch oven. So what it should have been told from is Lachlan's perspective because he's the one who goes in and rescues her. So I don't know, maybe that was just me, but again, it was just conclusion at breakneck speed. I still don't really know what happened. Brynne Weaver gives you enough to know how the third book is going to start, but I think there was a huge opportunity for something different or something better to have happened in the conclusion. So this was a solid 4 stars. So these were the 2 romance books that I read this month. Let me know if you read these books. Did you enjoy them? What did you rate them? If anyone has ever read them at the same time, please talk to me because it was a very weird experience, but I really liked it. I'm glad I didn't get any of the content or any of the characters mixed up because, I mean, really, how could I? They're very different stories, but Talk to me in the comments. Let me know if you've read these books. Let me know what your favorite Emily Henry book is, or if you like this one the best, if you're rereading again, tell me why. Tell me your favorite romance book. Do you like dark romance books, or are you more of a kind of happy-go-lucky, lighthearted Emily Henry type of romance reader? So thank you so much for sticking with me so far. I've really enjoyed doing this video because it was different and kind of unique for me. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so at this time so you can stay up to date on bookish content. And we'll catch you on the flip side.